I've spent years playing around with game dev, starting with simple 2D games, pixel art style. Then as I was learning to become a 3D artist, I decided to try and put some of my assets into an actual 3D game engine. And since I already knew a thing or two about game dev, I decided to try to make like some very simple gameplay. I was playing a lot of Valheim. Valheim was getting no updates at all, so I was like, I'm going to make my own Valheim with blackjack and updates. I had no idea how to make a game like that, so I tried something smaller, simpler. At some point I wanted to make a Souls-like roguelike where you... Souls roguelike, I guess. Took me 6 months to recreate the Dark Souls 3 combat system, which is a great idea for the first game you're ever going to release. Dropped another idea and another idea and another and another. Enough! I'm making a goddamn game in 4 months. And it's a VR game. Okay, calm down. You don't like VR? Don't worry about it. About 95% of the stuff that I'm going to talk about here is exactly the same like in the flat screen games, just different controls, but also different design philosophy. Oh my god, it finally happened. The Steam page just got approved and released, so go wishlist the game right now. It's still a work in progress with the visuals and descriptions, all of stuff. Doesn't matter. Go get... wishlist the game. Now we don't have a lot of time, so we need a good idea. And the best idea is someone else's idea. Risk of Rain 2. If you are not familiar, Risk of Rain is a roguelike game where you have like a bunch of characters. Choose one, they have like abilities, different weapons. You jump into the level, you kill enemies, and from killing enemies you get currency that you can use to open chests. Now those chests that you open contain where am I standing? And those chests that you open contain items that give you different like upgrades, like additional health, or you shoot faster, or like double jump, sprinting faster, all of the cool stuff. Oh yeah, and after you collect those items from the level, you face a boss, you kill the boss will drop like some special item, and then you progress to the next level. Now the reason this game is so popular and so fun is that every level has a bunch of those chests, and those upgrades are actually noticeable. It's not like you get a 2% damage boost to enemies that look blue and have like 3 legs. All of the upgrades are usually very substantial, and you can have, by the end of like the final level, you can have like 50 items and you're completely OP, unless you had bad RNG. But you know, that's roguelikes for you. Risk of Rain is not afraid to make the player completely overpowered, and that's awesome. And that's what we're gonna do. So, what is the setting? Setting is you are inside a simulation for an AI that is going to be put inside of a robot that is going to walk around the city and spread smiles and happiness. So yeah, it's basically like this virtual training environment. You know how you've seen those, probably seen those videos where there's like a bunch of simulated robots and they try to perform some basic tasks like picking up caps and folding laundry. So it's like this kind of simulation, except you have a weapon and you shoot and murder enemies. Of this, I was wondering why do I look like a dwarf, and then I just realized that I'm short. Well, this is day like 4 or something, and I already got some stuff done. Okay, so let's get crack-lacking. We open Unreal Engine and we select the VR template, we remove everything, and then we do something that most VR developers seem to not do, which is we actually get the basics to work correctly. You know, the best way to design a VR game is to just take a flat screen game and be like, but in VR, am I right? That changes everything. Well, it does change everything. Despite what many VR developers might think, it's not as simple as taking a flat screen game and just adding some VR controls and being like, that's awesome. VR is a completely different medium, so we need to change a lot of stuff, which also means that I won't be straight up ripping everything. So it's not fuck is that? So it's not plagiarism, it is being inspired, and I'm going to be very inspired by this game, which means that I'm going to take the entire gameplay loop and slap my name on it. So we got a body. We got like a full body model, room scale locomotion, we got sitting mode, controller crouching, and the snap turning, the smooth turning, and all of this good stuff. And now you may be like, so how much does this take to make? Well, not like zero, no time, because I bought a plugin. Listen, okay, look, we need to have a talk. You and me. So there is a reason why there are so few good VR games, so like so few VR games in general. It's not even that there's a low player base, it's just that making a VR game, like just a very basic VR game where you have like the player that can move around and do stuff and it doesn't look and work like trash. That's just very difficult. When you open Unreal Engine and you choose like an FPS preset, you already got a character. The character has a gun. There is animations for this gun. You can shoot the gun, you can walk around, you can jump, all like crouch, all the stuff is already there because the engine is created with this kind of game in mind. And if you try to open the VR template, what you get is floating hands and the ability to teleport. And you can pick some stuff up, but like with one hand only. And yeah, there's a gun and you can shoot it, but all of this is extremely basic and is basically shite. And to go from here to this, what people expect, like full body and IK and all of this stuff, that takes forever and takes a lot of skill. It's not easy. So when I said that I'm going to make a game from scratch, I am going to do that. I am, but first I'm going to bring the project up to this level where it would be if it was like a flat screen game. So a lot of the stuff that you normally don't have to work on because it's already built in the engine and prepared for you. So yeah, I'm going to be using plugins. I'm also going to be using some stuff that I made for my previous games, which were never released. If you are wondering, then yeah, I don't have a script for this video. So I accidentally taught my girlfriend's dog the best command. Farba, chodź. Farba. Boink. Tak, ojoj, tak, dobry piesek. So yeah, we got the character. I also made this very cool holographic looking hood where you have like the HP and other stuff that I'm going to explain later. It's basically like displayed below your eyes in front of your face. Guns, let's add some guns. We have a gun, then we have a like shorter and thick gun. There's a rifle, there's a shotgun, and there is a sniper rifle. Yeah, so in Risk of Rain we have like those characters that you can choose from, and they have different abilities, different weapons, all of that. Well, that's not what I'm going to do, because that takes a lot of time, a lot of character models, all of that. You're gonna have one character model, and we're gonna have 3 guns. So you start the level, you choose the gun that you want to start with, maybe some additional ability, then you just jump into the level and you shoot stuff, and it's all like a grand old time. Now there's something about gunplay that I really don't like in certain games. I'm not a big fan of guns that are like super heavy and you stand in VR, you kind of turn around, and the gun just kind of... It just makes you feel like there is something wrong with the game, like it's... I don't know if lag is the good description. It sucks, that's what it is. Some weight is cool, depending on the game, but in this kind of arcadey, very quick action, like a lot of lasers in your eyes, all of this stuff, the guns will only have weight if you hold them with one hand, and they will be like now a little bit of this technical stuff. Now in many VR games, like Into the Radius, absolutely goated, the first one, not the second one. When you grab a gun, it gets attached to your hand by a physics constraint. So when you move it around, you can add some weight and this kind of stuff. When you push it into the wall, it doesn't like go through. And this is great for a game when you move around like corridors and stuff like this. We don't need this kind of complexity. I got 1 month. I'm doing it the simplest way possible. I'm just slapping this gun into your hand like it's glued. So when you hold it with only one hand, it's going to be like kind of lagging behind, you know. But when you grab it with 2 hands, it's going to be pointing exactly where you point, and none of this like lagging stuff is going to be happening here. And this is basically to prevent the player from just running around like that with a big gun. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some recoil to these weapons. Now, since I'm not simulating physics on those guns, it might be a little more difficult. Just kidding, it's actually easier. All I'm doing is every time you pull the trigger, I'm just adding rotation offset. So I did that, and it doesn't work very well. So how I imagined it to work is basically like you start shooting, you hold the trigger or whatever, and the gun just keeps going up, right? That works well because you can counter this and keep aiming down, but the way it came out when I did it is the gun just kind of keeps going up and keeps coming back, and that sucks. It's weird because both you can and you can't aim anymore. So you want the recoil to be difficult, like add difficulty to the shooting, but this both doesn't add difficulty and adds too much difficulty. Let me explain. Like you shoot and the entire gun is going up, and then like your sights get misaligned, but the gun comes back to the exact same position. So basically you can't aim anymore because the sights are jumping around like crazy, but the gun, like before you shoot again, the gun is still pointing at the same spot, so you can just aim once and just close your eyes. It's going to be... Anyway, so I opened Pavlov VR because it has a very good shooting mechanics stuff and all of this, and I looked at how the recoil works. When you shoot and the gun goes up, there's a slight delay before it goes down, and guess what? That fixed everything. I did that, and now the gun just keeps going up slightly. It's not perfect for now, but good enough. Did you know that this animal in Polish is called foka? This, for example, is a motherfucker. Okay, so we have the character, we have the guns, we have the shooting, and we have like the life bar and all of that. And since I'm speedrunning, getting to the first gameplay loop, which is what you should do if you make games, so you can actually get a feel for how the game works, you know, you have to play the game to know if it's good. Then what we need right now is the map and the enemies and the items, chests, and yeah. Alright, so the map. We are making a procedurally generated level, single one, because that's enough. The entire thing is going to be procedurally generated, so each time you start the game, you get a different map, all the chests are in different places, or the enemies spawn differently, and all of that. Yeah, the quintessential roguelike experience. Obviously, the more random the line of good game go up, right? And you might be like, wait, isn't like this procedural generation stuff kind of difficult? You have like 1 month. No, because Wardenhold had a lot of procedural generation and I'm already pretty good at it. See, that's the thing, I didn't just randomly choose this project, I actually chose a game that I know how to make every element of it. So if you are in a similar position, you want to make a game, yeah, play on your strengths. Okay, so how do we start? Just like with like a drawing, you start with the sketch, so the overall like shape, and then you start adding details. And my first idea was to create like those core meshes, like very large ones, that I add stuff to it and they would be kind of complex, but then I was like, I don't have time for this. I'm going to just spawn a bunch of platforms that will be able to facilitate the boss arena, and then I'm going to spawn some smaller platforms, and then I'm going to connect them with like roads and yeah, more stuff. So let's get crack-lacking. That was cringe as shit. Okay, so basically I made this like a platform, throw it into the blueprint, we add some magic blueprint stuff and all of this, and bump, we got some platforms. Then what I did is I took the okay, so maybe what I did is basically have those bounds of the level, right, like this, that's a cube, and I spawn 8 of those islands inside of this cube. 8 of those islands inside, Jesus Christ, god damn it, inside of this cube. So we spawn them here, like here, right? And then I randomly choose which ones are going to be actually generated, and we add some random position and random scale and rotation, and there we go. I pick those ones that were spawned and spawn the smaller islands around them, again, random position, rotation, and scale. And since I'm a troglodyte, it took me only like a couple of hours to get this done. And then we got the question of how do we connect them? We need all of this to be kind of like traversable, right? So you can go from like one point to the other. Revolution in gaming, I know. What I decided to do is I choose one island and I try to connect it to every other island, and then I just check if there is nothing in the way, and if there isn't, then we just save this like connection. It was actually a little bit more difficult than that because I need to find like the 2 closest spots of every island, so I needed to add like a spline of this. You don't care, it works. Now obviously this is a lot of different like bridges, we don't need this many, and when you look at this, it's kind of like a giant mess. It looks like if you had meatballs and you grabbed dry spaghetti and just dropped it in there. So first idea, okay, if the path is too steep, we are going to filter it out and just throw it away. But wait, then I realized I don't have to throw it away, I already have this connection. How about I take all of them and I categorize them by length, by the slope, so basically how steep they are, and whether they are intersecting with some other paths. And now we have a whole bunch of data that I can use to generate some additional stuff. Next step would be adding some kind of like rocks and, you know, smaller islands, and like the paths can like connect to some other stuff that you can explore and all of that. But this is good enough. Got the navigation working, because you need this kind of like navigation mesh for the AI to walk around on and kind of find you. And yep, that's what I've done this week. And the next week we are going to add some enemies and some items to collect, so we can actually get stronger and shoot stuff and have a grand old time. By the way, I completely forgot to say the name of the game, which is very fun and fantastic, and I'm very proud of it. And the name of the game is Life Enrichment Assistant Simulation Hub. Hello, it's been like 4 weeks since I recorded the video that you just watched, and I've added so much new stuff to the game. I was waiting for the Steam page to be approved, and in about a week there's going to be the second episode coming, and you're going to see a whole bunch of new stuff that I've added, weapons, enemies, items, like menus, map generation, tons of new elements, mechanics, and visuals. Yeah, so subscribe on my Bumble so you can join me in the next episode. I'm also on Twitter, Patreon, Instagram, fucking TikTok. I'm everywhere. I'm probably waiting in your fridge, and I would especially appreciate it if you could check out my Patreon. Making a VR game is not exactly the best way to make money, and I'm